Hi, hello, and welcome. My name is Nidhi, and today I want to tell you all about my favorite graphic novels. I would say I consider myself a graphic novel reader, especially recently. I've just been picking them up. I think graphic novels are a little bit underrated, a little bit slept on. Out of the many I've read, I found a few that I would genuinely love to talk about. I think graphic novels are great if you're in that slumpish period where you don't really know what sounds appealing to you. They're like a great accomplishment booster just so you can finish some books and feel like you're still reading. But they're also great because they have very unique stories and they're told in such a format that's so entertaining. These are my faves. I guess some of them are a bit mainstream because most of them I get from like the Goodreads recommendations section, but they're very diverse and they all touch me very differently, so I hope you enjoy them. Before I begin, I just want to point out that art style is very important in a graphic novel. In fact, sometimes the art style to the author is more important than the dialogue and the plot itself. I, for one, am no artist in any way, shape, or form, so I just don't feel comfortable talking about the art style, rating it, and telling y'all like how I feel about it. In my opinion, all the art styles are done very uniquely and exceptionally and model the book perfectly, but that's just my opinion. I don't really know how I'd rate them. I think they're all wonderful. The first book I want to talk about is Stargazing, and oh my gosh, my fragile heart, the representation in this book, just how much you just feel so connected to these girls is just everything. I'll just start off by saying it is not a happy book by any means. It is incredibly moving. It is incredibly just sad, but it's so joyful, heart-wrenching, and just gives you hope. Stargazing tells a story about these two unlikely characters, Christine and Moon. They're both in elementary school. Moon is said to be a girl with anger issues, and people tell Christine to stay away from her. All of that changes when Moon's family moves next door to Christine's, and they bud an unlikely friendship that evolves into just the cutest story between these two girls. Christine finally sees Moon in a different light, and she's just not what she expected, and I just think it was just such a cute time, and I enjoyed every second of it and seeing their story and how that evolved. The next book I want to talk about is a book I actually own, and that is The Princess and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang. I first picked this book up because Victoria Schwab recommended it on Goodreads, and everything my favorite author recommends I'm picking up, and it is so adorable. I reread it every year. I think you get the gist. It's about a cross-dressing prince and his dressmaker and some fun things they do together and how the prince deals with something that's just not ordinary in his kingdom. I think it's a great coming of age story. I think the characters in this book also have depth and they have different emotions revealing about themselves and how I feel about their responsibilities. It's a wonderful time. It's so cute. 10 out of 10 would recommend. The next book I want to talk about is Anya's Ghost. I didn't expect to love this book as much as I actually did. How do I describe this? It's freaky. It's a bit freaky. It got me a little bit scared while reading it. It starts off as a lighthearted story about this girl named Anya who has a hard time fitting in at her new school, and she's just looking to make some friends. And then she scarily finds a ghostly BFF and they start uncovering a mystery together. And it got me spooked. I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes I was a little bit scared to find out what was happening. I know I'm being kind of vague, but it's again a story you try to gather clues from as you read. And it was just such a good time. It got me on the edge of my seat and I was just interested to see how the whole story progressed. The next book I have to talk about. I have to, and it's Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. There's 3 volumes currently out. It's about these 2 boys named Nick and Charlie, and it's about their friendship together and their journey on mental health and loyalty and love. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It's so cute just reading about these high school boys that are still trying to discover themselves, yet trying to discover what they mean to each other. And it's adorable. Just go pick it up. Okay, the next book I want to talk about is also a book I own, and that is Persepolis. Persepolis is just mind-blowing. There's 2 volumes in this. There's volume 1 and volume 2. This is the complete collection right here, and it's one of my favorite books of all time. Persepolis follows the author. It's a graphic memoir in her life growing up during the Iranian Revolution. The author essentially has 2 faces. She has a face when she's at home and dealing with family issues, and then she has a face when she's, at school and dealing with stuff globally, as she is a woman growing up in this time. It is such a jaw-dropping, inspiring tale. The first book made me cry, and it just reminds me wholeheartedly of why I want to dedicate my life to helping people. It's so touching, so impactful. I recommend everyone to pick up Persepolis. The next book I want to talk about is Into the Woods. I didn't really understand this book. Like, Not at all. It's a short story collection about some ghost stories, about some creepy stuff that happened in a town, some psychological weird stories. Like, I don't know how to explain it other than it's a freaky time and I did not expect it. As I said before, I didn't understand it. It made me question things that I didn't realize needed questioning, and then I questioned, like, you know, why I was questioning those things in the first place, or why I've never questioned them before. As I said before, I didn't expect it. I didn't expect the images to make me feel the things I did because I don't really know what I felt, and it was just a trip while reading it. And then afterwards I was like, what did I just read? So if you're in for a tale, it's gonna get you a little bit freaked, but also wondering, why did I read that and what did that do? Pick it up. The next book I want to talk about is Woman World, which was fantastic. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It's basically Earth in the future where men have been eradicated. Just kidding, they're actually just like non-existent. They've been extinct. And it's a tale about what women would do if there were no men and no patriarchal standards. It was such a heartwarming and funny time. I did not expect to laugh as much as I did. Like, I was literally laughing on every chapter. We follow a wide cast of characters. There's transgender women, disabled women, women who are dealing with how they're gonna run out a matriarchal society. It's a tale about celebrating women and feminism, and I know there's nuances to it. I know there's like some depth about what women would do in a world where we're not limited anymore, but it was just a funny read to me. There's multiple female romances, and it was such a fun time. Now, the last book I want to talk about, which is probably my favorite book ever, is Speak by Laurie Anderson, and this is in the graphic novel format. Speak, if you didn't know, is one of my favorite books of all time. As you can tell by its very beat up quality, it's been through a lot. It's been with me through a lot. I just think its translation to graphic novel format is my favorite translation through any medium. I felt these same emotions I did while reading the book in graphic novel format where it was depicted. There are trigger warnings for this book, which I'll include down below. Basically, the main character is going into high school and a traumatic event happens to her over the summer and she loses her whole friend group, and it's a journey on how she discovers what truly matters to her and how she can learn to speak about the experiences she's had. I read it at such a young age that it just stayed with me forever. I've read a lot of books that had to deal with the same themes as Speak does, and none of them stand even in comparison to the way Speak deals with it. I can't explain how much this book means to me, and I just recommend everyone to read it. You just know those books that essentially change the way you analyze life and change the way you essentially see things, and that is definitely Speak for me. So that's it. Those are all my graphic novel recommendations. If you picked any of them up, or if you have your own recommendations yourself, please leave them down below. I would love to know. I'd love to read them. I'm always looking out for new graphic novels to read. I hope you pick these up, and I hope you stay for more content. Thank you so much for watching.